Welcome back to Same But Different, the movie talk show nobody asked for, but we're still doing it. I'm here talking with Brody about Grave of the Fireflies this week. Pretty big one. Let's dive right into it. Brody, you are up first. Let's hear what you thought about the movie.
Yeah. Story, plot, characters. We're going to kind of talk about that first. This subject matter was rough. The travesty of war on people who aren't actually involved in the war almost seems like it's harder to watch. But then it's even harder when it's a teenage boy and his like 6-year-old sister who are orphans and their aunt hates them and everything goes wrong and everything just keeps getting worse.
Yeah. So she's 4.
She's 4.
I looked it up. He's 14 and she's 4.
It's wild that somehow makes it worse. I mean, 6 should be just as sad as 4, but it's sadder now.
Yeah. Well, less life lived.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
This is a film that is absolutely unforgettable. Oh, the dog's coming down.
Oh, hello, dog.
It's beautiful. It is haunting. It is emotionally devastating. It is depressing as fuck. I didn't know I was capable of crying for 90 minutes straight. Like, I did not stop. There were moments where, like, I was finally getting my composure, but I was still, like, misty, and then something horrible happened, and it became full-on ugly tears again. Okay. I was not okay when this movie ended. I was not. The story itself is I mean, it's semi-straightforward. There's not, like, a lot of layers to it, because there doesn't need to be. It's just the journey of these two kids trying to be okay and not ending up okay. The story essentially personifies Seita and Setsuko's hopelessness. That's all this movie is there for. It's just hopelessness. I was very worried that Setsuko would be annoying or like cringy or obnoxious, but she was absolutely adorable all of the time, and that really just made it harder. And Seita and the love he has for her while being an incredibly strong protagonist who just smiles through all of this, trying to make her laugh. Oh, God, there are plenty of memorable moments, but for me, what stood out the most, being called Grave of the Fireflies, is the scene where they captured a bunch to light up their little, barracks home, and then it's beautiful and wonderful, and then they're all dead in the morning.
There's so much symbolism in this movie too. Like, that particularly caught me off guard. Not off guard, but like that was a really poignant moment, because a large theme, and I'll talk about this in mine, but a large theme of this was like the fleeting short life that we live. And fireflies live a very short life. And these two, obviously very young, lived a short life. So there was that connection too, which was nice.
But in that same scene, it's the best moment. Well, fun. The only moment in the movie that like made me laugh is when he rolled over to like cuddle his sister while they were sleeping, and she's like, "Get off me, Seita." That was funny. The movie did a fantastic job not being political, given that it was a Japanese movie for World War II. Seita does not hate Americans. He's not nationalistic. He's simply a child, and that is all. There's no underlying politics or anything for people to argue about. It's just about being a kid and trying to survive, and it's so beautiful. It also did a really good job, which is surprising for how depressing and how much I cried. I don't think it ever forced any emotions out of its viewers. Like, it never lingered on anything or like really tried to drive the point home. Everything kind of just kept happening. It is just heartbreaking, and your heart will break, but it's not even like they tried for that. That's just the subject matter. It's kind of what I have to say about the story and the plot and the characters, except for like, fuck the ant, man. Ridiculous. I get the farmer and everyone being like a little stingy and I can't help you, I gotta survive too. That's fair. But the ants? Come on.
Yeah. Ugh. There was one moment I felt that tried to pull emotion out of me. And that was the moment where Seita tells Setsuko that we can't go visit mom. Setsuko just kind of sits down, curls up, and cries, and then he goes onto the monkey bars or whatever. That lingered on way too long, in my opinion. I think that was trying to force some sort of reaction out of me. You and I viewed this movie very differently. First of all, you're gonna be bewildered by this. I didn't cry.
Is my brother a demon? A robot? I'll never truly understand what happened that day.
Once. And I'm a big baby when it comes to movies, Brody. You know me. What? I didn't cry.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
By the end of it, I didn't really understand either, because it was a very depressing movie and and very sad. But for some reason, there were elements of the movie that prevented me from crying for these. It was sad. I don't know why. I'm a big baby and I cry at everything. We'll try to figure it out as I go through this.
No, you're just wrong. Your emotions and your feelings aren't justified.
Gaslighter. It's a straightforward story, like you said. It's about how war affected everyone, even the innocent people. It had a particular spotlight on a family, and in even more particular, the brother and sister relationship. It's easy to say that that's what this movie was about. At least one of the things that this movie was about, how war can affect more than just the people involved with the war. I didn't see it as that because it didn't, besides for, the bombings once in a while, it didn't, like you said, it didn't really go much into the war. It wasn't very political. It wasn't very pro-war, anti-war, anything like that. War was just kind of happening in the background. And the main story for me was how pride can absolutely decimate everyone you love. When I watched this movie, that was Seita to me, a very prideful, albeit young and naive, still old enough to understand that the gravity of his choices would be able to affect people. And I think because of his pride, he just kept pushing forward. And there's something other than pride, and I'll get into that. What am I saying here?
Couldn't tell you. I'm baffled.
The examples are like that he had so many opportunities to actually properly provide for his sister, and his pride kept getting in the way. His aunt was an asshole, yes. He could have stayed there, and he could have, worked on his aunt's farm or house or wherever they were to earn his keep for him and his sister, and everything would have been okay. But he didn't. He decided to leave instead and be like, we'll do this on our own. And there was moments where the aunt said, do this. And instead, he decided to play piano for her. On one side of the coin, it's like you're being prideful and ignorant and you're actually being a detriment to you and your sister's survival. But on the other hand, this is where I'm conflicted because it was super, super sweet that no matter what, seeing his sister happy took precedence over everything. And that's where I'm conflicted. That's the true tragedy of this movie. His pride and the fact that he wanted to keep his sister happy and blissfully ignorant of everything, and that caused them both to die in the end.
You know what? You aren't wrong, but it's not what I took away, because he was very relatable to me. I would have left too, I think. I would have done, nothing he did seemed like, why are you doing that when you could do this? To me, we just relate to it differently, I suppose.
To me, it's like you're in a war-torn country where things are very limited, food is scarce, everybody's on rations, people are dying. Why would you choose to go be homeless with your very young sister who needs help? That didn't make sense. But to him, it did. To him, it was getting away from evil aunt. And to him, it was providing a happy space for his sister.
He's 14. We didn't get to see their life beforehand, so maybe that could have helped. But I assume he's never had to struggle for much and didn't... He couldn't know how hard it was. They've never experienced war and famine. He thought, let's go out there and it'll be fine.
I feel like if you just take a look around, you can see that you need a support system. You just need it.
Not if she's a cunt.
She was, though. At the same time, though, she was still willing to provide for them. Just she didn't go about it the right way. Moving on to the characters. Characters were okay. There's one thing I wanted from each of the three main characters, the aunt, Seita, and Setsuko. There are three things I wanted from each one of these characters, and they are as follows. The aunt. I wanted to know why, even before the display of quote-unquote insubordination or not being ungratefulness from Seita and Setsuko, even before they showed that, I want to know why this aunt was so subscribed to the idea of not liking these children. Because she was already she already signed off on them as soon as they arrived there. She's like, eh. The evil that she was putting out and the assholery, it wasn't justified, and I wanted it to be justified. I needed a moment where Seita realized what he did. He could have realized it before Setsuko died or afterwards. What he did or what he was doing was the cause of all that. I needed some sort of hubris, humbling moment where he's like, shit, I did this.
I think the beginning of the movie is the implication that that's what happened after the end. You know what I mean?
No, well,
Because he could have survived, and he didn't, which means after Setsuko, he gave up.
If you truly realize that, like, by doing all of this, it was the cause of the death and the cause of your malnutrition and eventual death too, like, I would just go find help. I would go back to the aunt and be like, I'm sorry. You
Not
know,
if you killed
this
your
is the
sister.
pride thing I'm talking about, especially if I did.
I think he could not forgive himself and let go and just decided to die.
Okay, well, it wasn't entirely clear in the movie that he had a moment of regret.
No, you're right. There wasn't. No, it was either implied or I just assumed, but that's what I got from it.
And then from Setsuko, yeah, she's 4 years old, so you can't expect too much. You said she wasn't annoying, which was fine. Like, even when she was screaming and whining, she wasn't annoying because it was appropriate in that moment. Like, yeah, I get it. I wanted her to serve more of a purpose than just being that I'm going to say thing. She's not a thing, she's a human being, but being that thing that Seita just wanted to look after. I wanted her to have more of a character where maybe she went up to Seita at one point and comforted him and was compassionate towards him about something. There was that really sweet moment after the police station where she hugged him and he started crying.
Yeah.
I just wanted, that was a great moment. I just wanted a little bit more of that because otherwise she didn't serve a purpose other than to Seita to take care of her. I just wanted a little bit more because she showed a lot of compassion in that moment. And then right before she died, she's like, have some food, which were rocks.
Yeah, no, they were rice balls. I think that's unfair, but hey, it's your review.
Why is that unfair?
Because she's 4 and that is the point of the movie. Is Seita is our star. Setsuko is there.
Okay.
That's kind of the point.
I'm willing to be convinced otherwise at that point. Honestly, it was a stretch. It was something I felt. It was a fleeting thought. Whatever, we can scratch it. Everything else is valid, and I stand hard and fast on. Finally, the biggest flaw in this movie. I'm sorry. I have to.
I'm baffled. I thought that, all right.
The biggest flaw in this movie and in the writing is showing us they died at the beginning of the movie. Brody, I swear to you, if that was not shown and we just watched as they lived their lives till their death, I think I would have been fucking obliterated by the end of the movie and crying my eyes out because we were shown that they were spirits at the beginning and they had died and they're moving on. The whole movie, I was just waiting for it to happen. I was like, okay, here is this when it happens? Okay, cool. No, not yet. Oh, is this when it's good? No, not yet. I think it was a huge mistake.
I disagree because that's what kept me crying from the first minute of the movie. If I didn't know they died, I wouldn't have cried until the end. Granted, yes, it might have been a really, really heavy, fucking ugly sob. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I would have been crying through the movie without knowing their fate first. And I think the point of this movie was hopelessness and devastation the entire way through.
Yeah, see, that doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. There was a significant weight and tension that was completely eradicated from the entire film as soon as I found out that they were dead. I enjoyed the movie. Don't get me wrong. I just think that was a big mistake. No, I did. Move on to your next points. That's all I have to say about the writing.
So directing and editing and animation and things like that, it was all, in my opinion, very, very well done for a 35-year-old movie. Anime was always ahead of its time, though, I think, in terms of... And it was so nice to see, like, an anime of this nature that wasn't just bloodfest and violence and all that stuff. Because I feel like in this era, that's what a lot of these animes were.
Seeing that mom bandaged up, that was pretty brutal.
Yes, it was. The animation, the editing, the use of, like, slow motion, but only sometimes, the long, drawn-out shots were all incredible. I know I said earlier it could do with 5-10 more minutes, and I still agree with that, but being a short 90-minute movie really helped make this movie feel important. Again, I'll go back to saying I don't think they lingered on anything too long. The things they lingered on, they did it on, they had to, like lingering on the mom. Like, you know, one scene she's just fucked up and dying, and then the next time we see her, there's maggots all over her and she's dead. And it lingers on that, but it does that to punch you in the gut. It's on purpose. I never felt like cut away. I was like glued to the horror. The director made the choice to stay gloomy, never offering one iota of hope for us, not once, which really just drove home the point of this movie. And up until the last frame, the pain and the devastation just keep growing because you know it's not going to go well. I think it all really worked, and I can't say too much about the editing because there was a lot of really cool shots and things like that, but anime is just always good at editing, I find.
Yeah. I just want to say, to your point of they didn't offer us glimmers of hope, I disagree. There were a few moments in this movie that gave us a little bit of hope, but they were immediately met with Seita just being like, fuck that, I'm going to do my own thing.
But I also
don't
mean,
understand.
you knew they were going to die, so even if it was hope, it was false hope. That's what I mean. Like,
Sure.
if you didn't know that, and
Which
maybe you
is-
would have liked that if you got actual hope through this movie. I am so impressed that they never allowed me to have it.
Nah. Well, how could they have if they already told you they're going to die?
Well, exactly.
That's not a craft thing. That's just like they told you, now expect it.
They made the decision to tell me that. That is a craft.
Yeah, but throughout the movie, it's not them making a decision not to give you hope. It's they've already given you the final thing at the beginning.
Yeah, so giving us any glimmer of hope was actually just lying, and they knew it, and we knew it, so it was on purpose.
It's dumb.
You're dumb!
I don't understand, and please explain to me, when Seita finds out that they have 7,000 yen in the bank from their mom, and he's like, man, we can buy so much food, we can do all this stuff, and we're going to be fine. And then he doesn't do anything with that money until his sister's dying. And then he's like, oh, I better go buy some stuff.
I wish I had an answer for you. There's got to be a reason. Maybe it was a Sunday and the bank was closed.
No, it lasted weeks until he decided, let's go buy some food.
Maybe he needed to clear some paperwork because he's only 14 and his mom's dead, and you can't just take money out of other people's accounts.
So that to me was like by far the most damning piece of information in the movie.
I forgot about that 7,000 yen conversation, and I really didn't. I don't know. I had no idea how he showed up with all that stuff. I just accepted it.
Maybe just stole some like he has been, right? Like, why was he stealing shit if he had that money? Like, I don't.
Because it's cool, Derek. I loved to steal when I was 14.
When I was 14, I stole my first tomato.
Kind of reference was that? The Luda Bridge for a Justin Bieber song? Oh my god.
The positive aspects of this film are almost enough for me to forget about all the gripes I had with it. It was animated beautifully. Studio Ghibli and anime in general, just a feast for the eyes every time. Way ahead of its time. It was gorgeous. There were particular shots in this film that I just wanted to screenshot and put up on as a poster. Like, it was so nice.
Yeah, I should have mentioned, and to your point here, like the background characters, usually in anime, they're just like faceless, or they have just like, you know, everyone has the same eye, mouth, maybe. But there was so much detail in even the background characters. I was very impressed.
Yeah, there was that one shot where he's walking by the pipe that had the water exploded, and he walks up to the water. Like, that was fucking phenomenal. And the color palette was really nice. It was the perfect color palette to depict a war-torn country. Like, if I had just stepped into this movie not knowing what it was about whatsoever, I kind of would have gotten that vibe anyway. So the color palette was really nice. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about that stuff. It's nothing specific, but more of like an overall feeling of what the animation and directing gave me that was enough for me to like enjoy the film while also being able to pick out the problems with it.
I know I used this word to describe the plot too, but the music was so haunting. It was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it always matched up perfectly with what was playing out in front of us. I want this soundtrack on vinyl, but I think one piano note is going to send me into a depression spiral. And then in terms of sound design, just like the editing, I mean, anime's always good with sound design, even like the crunching and like even the little like of her like sucking on her hard candies or whatever, like those little things. Like, I don't know, there were just tiny little things here and there that anime just always does a good job with.
I'm the same way. It was great. Beautiful and sad. Sometimes really abrupt. Like, there were some moments where it just come in. Yeah, the music was wonderful, and yeah, the sound design, the Foley, everything they put into this. Despite how depressing and sad it was, a lot of love went into this film. Honestly, all in all, the strongest aspect of this film was the relationship between the brother and sister, and the happiness they gave each other, and the fact that life is fleetingly beautiful despite what kind of crazy depressing circumstances are happening around you. It can be worth it in those tiny moments that you have with someone you love. So like that enough is to make this a good movie to watch. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
It's a good rating. In any other movie, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But in this one, I just think it deserves more. What do you think I gave it?
I was thinking 9 out of 10, but hearing what you have to say and no gripes came out of your mouth whatsoever, I'm thinking you gave it a perfect.
I think this is one of the greatest achievements in film ever. I think if this doesn't make my favorite movie of all time, it certainly makes my top 5. It is perfect. I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again. And if I do, I am going to need somebody there with me. But I think this movie is perfect. It is absolutely a 10 out of 10, bar none. Easy 10 out of 10. The movie finished, and I hated myself, and I hated everything around me, and I just wanted to curl up into a coma for like a week. But it was perfect. It was a perfect movie.
Even all the things I said that were legit.
The one thing was, oh, he didn't go to the bank. That's the only thing where I'm like, yeah, okay, fair. But I don't care. That didn't, whatever. That made the movie happen. If he went to the bank, they would have lived.
But that's a writing issue. You could have given an excuse, like maybe all the banks got bombed. Like they could have, I don't know.
But I'm going to definitely be throwing this one into the mix, yes.
Wow. For the new year, we'll have to list our top 10s. What? Why? Moving on, let's pick our movie for next week. Let's bust out the Hat of Destiny.
We still have a lot of movies left. Let's see what we get. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, I don't like the feel of that one. Oh, no, that ink feels weird. This one. This is the one, okay? Dun, 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 dun.
Come on.
Dun. No way. No way you called this. I'm also miserable.
Is it The Godfather?
It's the fucking
No way.
Godfather.
If you pull Godfather, we're doubling up.
With Godfather 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And anything else, we're just watching one?
Correct.
All of these movies. What are the odds? 1 in 21, I guess. Are you kidding me?
Yo, I did it.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Sunset Boulevard. Cinema Paradiso. Life is Beautiful. Seven Samurai. That's the one I wanted to watch. Look, I just wanted everyone to know I didn't put The Godfather in there 20 times. Like, that was bizarre. Yes. Fuck. I have to watch
Godfather 1 and 2.
Maybe I'll love it. I just can't see myself caring. The Godfather. Don Vito Corleone, head of the mafia family, decides to hand over his empire to his youngest son, Michael. However, his decision unintentionally puts the lives of his loved ones in grave danger. I didn't even know the plot, and I could have guessed that was the plot.
Next week, we're going to be watching The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, part of our double feature for the end of August. And as cinephiles, we have to.
I know, it is one of those ones, like when we did Scarface and Goodfellas and stuff, as much as I felt about those movies, I was happy to have seen them. I might literally stand corrected next week, and you all are going to say, you're so stupid. Don't judge a movie by its... Cut away. Get out.
All right, if you liked what you saw here and you want to see more movie reviews and movie stuff and movie entertainment, we're your guys. We love doing it. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, and look forward for next week's review of The Godfather Part 1 and 2. Brody, it was great reviewing this very okay movie. I love you. And I wish I could have hugged you when you were crying about it.
Now that I know you didn't like it as much as me, I don't want your hugs. Love you, bye!
Bye!
I'll never truly understand what happened that day.